Hi, this is Shari with Lesson 4. Keep your eye on your attitudes. How you feel is important, you know? Have you ever thought about what it would be like to be a robot? You would never have hurt feelings. You'd never be lonely or sad. And so long as your parents were careful to give you a few drops of oil on a regular schedule and replace your burnt-out transistors and make sure your computer was properly programmed, everything'd be great. Well, almost everything. You would never be sad, but you'd never be happy either. You'd never be afraid, but neither would you ever be thrilled and excited. Some of our feelings are unpleasant, but most of us are more than glad to take the unpleasant things if we can just enjoy the good times that life has to offer. Well, of course, we're not robots. We do have feelings. Sometimes we have very strong feelings. Everyone does. And these feelings are very important. The way you feel about a certain person, or an object, or a situation, that's called your attitude. Good attitudes help you to reach your goals and to enjoy reaching them. Your attitudes are so important that they often have more to do with your own happiness than anything that can possibly happen to you. Your attitudes have a great deal to do with the way you act. Once a great football coach was asked why his teams won so many games, especially when the team's opponents seemed to be just as good or maybe even better. He was quick to reply that the secret was in attitudes. That is, in how the members of the team felt about the game and about themselves. They might know that the opposing players were just as fast and as strong and as skilled as they. The opposition might even be better than they were. But deep, deep inside, they believed that somehow they would win, and they almost always won. Feelings even affect the way we look. You've probably seen yourself in a mirror when you felt sad, and you noticed that you looked sad. Or when you felt happy, you noticed, boy, you looked happy. But because feelings are so important, we need to know more about them. The first thing to learn is that everybody has many different kinds of feelings. It's normal to be happy sometimes and sad other times. Everybody gets blue occasionally. Everybody at times gets the feeling that everything's gone wrong and life is nothing but a drag. You know the feeling. And at other times you're so cheerful, you feel as if you could float on a cloud. Oh, of course, this is the mood we'd like to keep, but it keeps slipping away. Some people are almost always very happy or almost always very sad. Others have more even feelings, never extremely high or low. But by working on our attitudes, almost all of us can hold on to more of the good feelings that make our work easier, our problems less important, and our lives more exciting. For example, Jane Benson wanted very much to be a reporter for the newspaper all the sixth grade classrooms were preparing, but she wasn't chosen. Instead, she was asked to check all of the news stories for spelling errors. Oh, she was disappointed, and she really didn't feel like being a part of the newspaper staff at all. She just wanted to forget it. But she decided to change no attitudes to yes attitudes. Instead of feeling sorry for herself and making herself and others miserable, she decided to be happy in spite of her disappointment. She was able to control her feelings by having the best possible attitude toward the job she was given. As it turned out, she was able to be a big help to her friends and classmates, and do you know she enjoyed her part in making a good newspaper? When you have Jane's kind of attitude, bad moods just don't have a chance. Another helpful thing to learn is that all of your feelings should be shared, even the bad ones. Friends and parents are some of the people with whom you can share your feelings. Don't be afraid to talk about your fears, your anger, your joys, even those mixed up feelings that you don't understand. Talk about them with other people, especially with those who love you. Sharing your feelings helps you to get rid of the bad ones and to enjoy even more the pleasant feelings that you want to keep. If you always keep your eye on your attitudes, you will know how to be a friend. If their parents allowed it, Some children will probably eat all of the time, you know. It's a favorite pastime from breakfast to bedtime. But hunger for food is not the only hunger boys and girls have. Everyone has a great hunger for friends. We just cannot get along without friends any more than we can get along without food. Now, of course, if you're to have friends, you got to be a friend. So ask yourself if you really understand what friends are and what friends are for. Why do you suppose having friends is so necessary? The best answer is that friends are for sharing and for helping. The person who has the idea that his friends are important to him only for what he can get out of them isn't likely to have many friends. Sometimes we're tempted to choose as friends only those whom we can beat in games or in school, or those who are not as pretty or handsome as we are. We think they really make us look good. Or we may choose for friends only those who are outstanding in some way, who are popular with others because we like to be seen with them. It's bad for us to select friends only for what they can do for us. It keeps us from having many friends. You should also include as friends those whom you can help. Say a new boy in school, you can help him find his way around and introduce him to all of your other friends. You'll help him make friends, and you'll also help yourself to become a better person, the kind of a person you and others will like. There are a good many ways to have friends. One is simply by getting acquainted. Feel free to say, "Hi, I'm Mary Jane. What's your name?" Be interested in other people. If a person feels you really like him and that you're really interested in him, he'll become a friend very quickly. Look for ways to do favors for people. Always try to be helpful and treat others as you want to be treated. Another way to treat others as you want to be treated is to share. Sharing a book or a bicycle, talking about an exciting game, or sharing almost anything else makes others feel you really care about them. So put your mind to it, huh? And you can think of many fine ways to make friends by being a friend. Sometimes we let a dangerous attitude creep up on us. A dangerous attitude is thinking that we can have only one or two good friends at a time. Friends are like money. The more you have, the richer you are. You can even have friends who don't like each other. Just because you're a friend with one person doesn't mean you can't be a friend with another. If the two who don't like each other both like you, you may even be able to help them understand each other and become friends themselves. You will like the happy feeling this gives you. Remember, making friends is great fun. Don't miss out on it, because in making friends, you'll be developing the power of love. While we're talking about friendship and the things that build friendship, let's talk about something very important. It's love. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about romance or falling in love. I'm not talking about something that's sissy or just for your teenage brother or sister. The kind of love I'm speaking of is for parents and children. It's something that makes us strong, not weak. Love is to a person what rocket fuel is to a missile. Love gives you thrust. It gives you power to live a great life. Have you ever heard of the great scientific genius George Washington Carver? He discovered more secrets about the peanut than most people discover about the whole world. His power lay in how much he loved his work and his friends. His greatest desire in life was to use all of his talents to help other people. He once said that anything will give up its secrets if you love it enough. This is the kind of love that makes you want to help others. It keeps you from becoming a selfish person. And it's the most powerful force in the world. If we all loved one another, we could end war and crime. Love is simply that strong, because when you have this kind of love, you love your enemies as well as your friends. You want your enemies to become friends. Now, love is not just a feeling. It's also something that you do. To love a person is not just to feel a certain way towards him, but to act a certain way. Many years ago in Europe, They lived with a very intelligent and talented young man. He became famous as a musician, and he was also an excellent teacher. But he decided that for him to be only a teacher or a musician would not be the loving way to serve other people. It was a good way, but for him, not the best way. So he returned to school and became a doctor. He went to Africa to spend his life giving medical care to people who had never seen a hospital or a doctor before. His name was Albert Schweitzer. He was one of the greatest men of our century. So you see, love is not only what you say or feel, but what you do. It's how you act. You will never learn a more important lesson about living than this. Always treat others as you would if you had warm, kindly feelings toward them. The longer you live this way, the easier it'll become. You will like yourself better for it, and you'll also understand people who are different. Now, for the last few minutes, we've been talking about friendship and love. Let's look at a special case. Think for a moment of all the people you know. Do you know any two who are exactly alike? Oh, maybe you know some twins who look exactly alike. But do they always act exactly alike? Everyone you know is different from everyone else. You are different from all of them. Now think of all the ways people can be different. Some are born in Vermont, and some in Arizona. Some are Americans, some are French or Russian or something else. Some can speak German, others speak Spanish. Some speak with a New England accent, and others speak with a Southern drawl. Some come from homes in which everybody's been to college. Some come from families which like art and music, while others come from families which think education, art, and music are silly. Our skin color may be different from the color of someone else's skin. There are just thousands of ways in which we can differ, but some differences are more serious than others. Say, for example, being crippled or blind. Okay? Now here's the question. How do you feel toward those who are different from you? A good attitude here will involve three things. First, it means you're glad there are differences in people. What a drag it would be if everyone were just alike. These differences make life interesting and exciting. Second, a good attitude means trying to understand the other person. You can make a game of this, even though it's very serious business. For instance, if you're trying to understand how a blind person feels, wear a blindfold. Try to find your way around a strange place. Act as if you are the person you want to understand, and try to imagine how people treat him and how he feels. The third part of a good attitude toward people who are different is to decide to follow that golden rule. Treat them as you would want to be treated. You certainly wouldn't want everyone at school laughing at you because of some way that you're different. The golden rule really says don't make fun of anybody else. Remember, treat others the way you want to be treated. It's not just for them, it's good for you too. And then you will know that it's good to like yourself. Speaking of you, let's take time. Take a moment to think about something we learned in lesson 1. It's good to like yourself. Remember that we were talking about becoming someone you could like and respect? Now, we want to think a bit about why this is good. How you feel about yourself can make or break you. Let me tell you about a college freshman several years ago. As a boy, he had polio, and he was badly crippled. When he started college, he weighed only 87 pounds. But more than anything, he wanted to be a good college athlete. So he joined the freshman rowing team as the coxswain. The coxswain is the man who steers the boat and calls out the directions for the men who row. Although he was crippled, he could steer the boat and call out directions. And because he weighed only 87 pounds, he added very little extra weight to the boat. His team became champions. It would have been easy for him to have felt sorry for himself and become a nobody, but he decided to accept himself as he was and make the best of it. And so he became a hero. Liking yourself means accepting yourself as you are, your body, your mind, and how you look. It also means that you know how to forgive yourself when you make mistakes. Gee, have you ever thought about that? We usually think that forgiving is something we do for other people, But we must also forgive ourselves. If you accept yourself as you are, and if you're willing to forgive yourself, then you can work on improving yourself. Always running yourself down and feeling sorry for yourself only hurts you. If you like yourself, you'll become a more likable person to others. When you hear you saying bad things about you, stop and think. Start from that point to do better in the future, and don't keep looking back on what you can't do anything about. As a famous comedian once said, don't look back unless you want to go that way. To get the most from Adventures in Growth, you should listen to each lesson once a day for 6 days. So that the tape in your cassette for this lesson will be in the proper position the next time you want to listen, press the button marked REW on your tape player until all the tape is on the left-hand spindle. You can see the tape through that little window in your cassette. If this is the 6th time for you to listen to this lesson, and if you're ready to proceed to the next lesson, press the button marked Fast Forward on your tape player until all the tape is on the right-hand spindle. The tape will then be in the proper position when you wish to review Adventures in Growth.